Hi everyone, no offense, but in China today, believing in pure love makes you a fool. Love without money? It crumbles instantly. Anyone who loves without calculation gets mocked as a love brain, doomed to be used, discarded, and left with nothing. But rewind just 15 years. A woman on a TV dating show said, "I'd rather cry in a BMW than love on a bicycle." That single line triggered nationwide outrage for being gold digging. Today, women aren't ashamed to talk money in relationships. And for men, pleasing wealthy women has become a real option too. It feels like the entire dating culture has flipped. So why did China abandon pure love in barely a decade? Honestly, the overwhelming presence of social media makes people restless and impatient. The lives of Chinese wealthy are fully visible online now. And seeing that every day feels both anxiety and desire. In a culture where success already means wealth, power, and status, social media pushes that definition to an extreme. So when someone shows up offering a way to move up, they're ready to buy in. Let me read you a few dating principles from China's top relationship influencer. Relationships are value exchange, no value, no love. Use its real currency, use it to trade up. Men are channels to a better life, emotions are skills. Pretty dark, right? If he's older, you get paid for the age gap, about $2,000 for every extra year. If you're the third party, he should pay you 10 times your annual income within a year. Yes, Chinese people really are good at math. These rules are from Chu Chu, who according to her haters online was called the godmother of Chinese gold diggers. So how did Chu Chu earn that infamous title? 2 years ago, one of her live stream call-in went viral. A woman asked Chu Chu to help her choose between two men. One was her ex, 15 years older, married, and he had already given her a Shanghai apartment worth about $3 million. The other was her current boyfriend, also wealthy, only 3 years older, and he'd spent around $500,000 on her in the past 2 years. The call wasn't staged. People dug into her background in finance, and everything checked out. Because Chu Chu's views were seen as overly transactional, state media then criticized her for spreading harmful values. After that, her accounts were banned across nearly every major platform. Even so, her followers stayed fiercely loyal. A few minutes of calling advice costs over $100. After she got banned, her private membership fee jumped to $30,000. Some viewers estimate that she makes over $20 million a year. Her wares and success were seen as proof of her values. Even now, you'll still find many viewers on social media actively courting and spreading her ideas. On Xiaohongshu, a platform dominated by young, educated urban women, you can find comments like, "Some of what Chu Chu says makes sense. At least she's on women's side, better than being a doormat in a relationship." People misunderstand her. She's not teaching women to be gold diggers. She's teaching women to protect themselves and avoid being used. You know what? I generally believe Chu Chu understands women. She knows exactly how to speak from a woman's perspective. She's sharp. She sensed a collective shift in how young women feel and turned that feeling into a business. Many Chinese women now believe they need to protect their own interests instead of sacrificing themselves for a partner or for family. Some people call this the rise of women's self-interest. Let's start with clips from two recent hit dramas. This heroine's view on love has won many female fans. Here, she decides to marry a rich man she doesn't love and tells her ex why.
因为爱情结婚，那就是赌徒。我就因为爱嫁给你，哪天你变心了，我找谁说理去？我去找谁哭啊？
Another popular drama, Love's Ambition, pushes this even further. Early in the story, the heroine lies about her family background and even hires actors to play her parents so she can pass the wealthy family's background checks and marry in. Instead of criticizing the deception, most viewers praised her cleverness. A trending phrase on social media summed up the mood. Good women may earn a good reputation, but bad women will win everything. This mindset is a rebellion against the long-standing moral discipline imposed on women. In traditional Confucian culture, women were often expected to be patient, self-sacrificing, and enduring. Women born in the 60s and 70s sacrificed almost everything, their desires, their careers, their identities, for their family. But today, with women making up half of China's college-educated population, young women don't want to repeat their mothers' lives. For many, the traditional relationship framework feels like a guaranteed loss. Childbirth brings physical pain, child rearing reduces workplace competitiveness, and even if a partner can provide financially, there's always the risk of infidelity or abandonment. And because women's contributions within the family are hard to quantify economically and often treated as simply expected, their anxiety about material security only grows. This insecurity leads to two outcomes. One, opt out entirely. Two, stay in the game, but with self-interest as the first rule. Hearing this, self-interest probably doesn't sound so negative anymore, right? In fact, only people with a strong sense of agency can truly practice it. And a reasonable self-interest is really just a form of self-protection. But self-interest doesn't just shape women's choices. In a society where success is defined so narrowly, everyone ends up thinking more pragmatically. From what I've observed, the old shame around living off a woman has weakened. You can even see men in the comments openly flirting under wealthy women's social media posts. Even if we set aside these more niche examples, utilitarian calculation is still unavoidable in relationships where both sides are evenly matched. People are constantly assessing what a relationship actually gives them. If I enter this relationship, what do I get? A better life? Better career opportunities, higher status, at the very least someone who makes me happy? If you are passionate, caring, funny, congratulations, those traits also count. We call them emotional value. And it's very clear that this mindset is especially strong among the middle class and the elite. You can see it in the collapsing marriage rates of major cities. Honestly, I am wondering, why are relationships getting more materialistic even as people get richer? Earlier, we talked about how Chinese society defines success in an extremely narrow way, and how social media amplifies that anxiety. And there's another important factor. People in China grow up in an environment of intense competition. School, university, work, everything is a constant comparison. It's hard not to carry that competitive mindset into dating, marriage, and even parenting. And finally, there is a pressure from the economic slowdown. When growth was fast, anything felt possible. Today I rented a room, tomorrow a villa. But now, making money is hard. Living costs are high. Marriage traditionally requires buying a home, and housing prices are insane. Raising kids in big cities is expensive, so choosing a partner with resources feels natural. But beyond China's unique factors, this isn't just a Chinese phenomenon. Eva Illouz, in The End of Love and Why Love Hurts, calls this emotional capitalism. Capitalism colonizing our emotions. In simple terms, love starts to follow the logic of the market. People approach love like a market transaction, a cost-benefit calculation for everything. So we know one thing. Moral persuasion won't fix this. At least in China's case, real change requires structural support. Workplace equality, equal pay, social childcare, more paid leave for women, and for everyone, fewer overtime hours and less cutthroat competition. I insist that people should still be able to love each other without fear. Love shouldn't feel like a luxury good. Marriage and love shouldn't have to carry such heavy survival-level economic anxiety. Fortunately, I'm starting to see people on social media pushing back against this utilitarian narrative. So that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching. I'm Olivia, and I will see you next time. Tell me in the comments, in the society you live in, is love still possible?